Yeah, it just died on me. I don't know, I'm stuck here in the lot. It's pouring. I tried jumping it last month, remember? Hey, I'm gonna have to call you back, okay?
You alright?
Hey, Mr. Ramos. Yeah, car won't start.
Hop in, we'll sort it out later. Out of the...
Pay attention to this security footage. October 12th, 2024, 5:47 p.m. Student parking lot C, Riverside University, Portland, Oregon. The camera captures 47 seconds of footage. But those 47 seconds contain the exact moment a 21-year-old college student walks toward what she thinks is safety, and what is actually a carefully constructed trap that's been waiting for her for 8 months. In the frame, you see Sophie Chen, 21, standing next to her silver Honda Civic in the rain, phone pressed to her ear, gripping her backpack strap. Gray Riverside hoodie, jeans, white sneakers getting soaked. Her car door is open behind her. She looks frustrated. Nothing looks wrong at first. But watch closely. At 008 seconds, Sophie checks her phone screen, then looks back at her car with visible frustration. Her shoulders drop, the body language of someone whose plans just fell apart. She's stranded. Her car won't start. At 014 seconds, a dark blue sedan, a 2019 Toyota Camry, pulls into frame from the right. It parks in space B45, 2 spaces from Sophie's Civic. There are 17 empty spots closer to the exit, but the driver chooses B45, 2 spaces from Sophie. Why? At 0:22 seconds, a man steps out carrying a black umbrella. Khaki pants, button-down shirt, dark jacket, professional, put together. You can't see his face clearly because of the angle and umbrella, but watch his posture. Confident, purposeful, unhurried. He walks directly toward Sophie like he knew exactly where she'd be. At 0:31 seconds, Sophie notices him approaching. Watch her face. The frustration melts. Her expression shifts to recognition, then relief. She waves at him with her free hand. A small wave, almost shy. She knows this person. She trusts this person. Her body language shows no caution. She's happy to see him. At 0:34 seconds, they're talking. Sophie points at her car, shaking her head, clearly explaining the situation. The man nods, then gestures toward his sedan. An offer. He's offering her a ride. Sophie hesitates for maybe 2 seconds. Not because she's suspicious, but because she's being polite. At 0:39 seconds, he says something else. Sophie's face relaxes. She nods. She accepts. At 0:43 seconds, Sophie walks toward the passenger side of his sedan, still on the phone with her roommate. At 0:44 seconds, she opens the passenger door. At 0:45 seconds, she gets inside. At 0:46 seconds, the door closes. At 0:47 seconds, the sedan backs out and disappears off frame. Total time elapsed, 47 seconds. Here's what makes this footage different from every other missing person case you've seen. The man driving that car had been planning this exact moment for 8 months. He disabled Sophie's car battery himself that morning at 4:47 a.m., 13 hours before this footage, using a battery disconnect tool he purchased specifically for this purpose. He knew Sophie's schedule down to the minute. He knew where she parked every day. He knew she'd be alone. He knew her car wouldn't start because he made sure it wouldn't. He knew she'd need help. And he knew, absolutely knew, that when he offered her a ride, Sophie would say yes, because Sophie trusted him. She'd known him for over a year. She'd sat in his classroom 3 days a week. Her parents had met him at freshman orientation and thought he was wonderful. And the person who should have protected her, the person whose job was to educate her, mentor her, guide her, was the same person who had been photographing her through her bedroom window for 319 nights. The person offering her that umbrella in the rain wasn't a stranger. He was her professor. And that parking lot footage at 5:47 p.m. on October 12th, 2024, that is the last time anyone saw Sophie Chen alive. Sophie Chen was 21 years old, junior year at Riverside University, double majoring in journalism and political science, 3.7 GPA. She wrote for the Riverside Reporter, covering investigative stories, campus corruption, hazing incidents, administrative spending scandals. The kind of stories that took guts to write. She lived 3 miles east of campus with roommates Kayla Mendez and Priya Sharma. String lights across the living room, thrift store furniture, Polaroids and inside jokes on the bulletin board. Sophie had routines, predictable, reliable routines. Every Sunday at 10 a.m., she FaceTimed her parents in Sacramento. David and Linda Chen, He was a civil engineer. She was a high school English teacher. They'd immigrated from Taiwan in 1998. They called her every Sunday without fail. She always answered. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she'd go to Common Grounds Coffee at 3:45 p.m. Same order, oat milk latte, extra shot, no foam. Same corner table by the window. She'd work on newspaper articles until 6 p.m. Every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m., she'd call her best friend from high school. No matter how busy they were, Thursday nights were sacred, predictable, structured, safe. Her friends described her as the mom friend, the one who made sure everyone got home safe, the one with ibuprofen and phone chargers in her backpack, the one who'd stay up until 2 a.m. helping you edit a paper. Kayla Mendez later told police, Sophie wasn't reckless. She was careful about everything. And on October 12, 2024, when Sophie's car wouldn't start and a professor she knew offered her a ride home, accepting that ride wasn't reckless. It was completely logical. It was what any of us would have done. And that's exactly what he was counting on. Professor Marcus Bellamy, 48 years old, married to Catherine for 16 years. 2 children, Ethan, 12, and Lily, 9. 3-bedroom house in Laurelhurst, one of Portland's nicest neighborhoods. White picket fence, vegetable garden, golden retriever named Cooper. Marcus Bellamy had taught at Riverside University for 11 years. Media ethics, introduction to journalism, advanced reporting. His classes were always full. Students fought to get into his sections. His reputation was glowing. 3 Professor of the Year awards. Rate My Professor rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars with 127 reviews. Best prof I've ever had. Actually cares about students. Goes above and beyond. Offers coffee shop study sessions on weekends. Writes incredible recommendation letters. Got me my dream internship because of him. He hosted optional review sessions at Common Grounds Coffee, the same coffee shop Sophie went to every Tuesday and Thursday. He'd stay late for office hours. He went to student newspaper events to support their work. He remembered details. If you mentioned a job interview, he'd ask about it weeks later. His colleagues described him as dedicated, passionate, a model educator. His wife taught 3rd grade. They went to church most Sundays. After church, they'd go to brunch. Blueberry pancakes for the kids, eggs Benedict for Catherine, corned beef hash for Marcus. Routine, normal. They looked like a stock photo family. Marcus Bellamy passed every background check. 0 criminal record, not even a speeding ticket. Credit score of 781. He donated to the Oregon Food Bank. He voted in every election. On paper, in person, in every measurable way, Marcus Bellamy was exactly who he appeared to be. A good man, a dedicated teacher, a loving husband and father. Wrong. Marcus Bellamy was a predator with a teaching credential and a wedding ring. And the reason no one saw it coming wasn't because he hid well. It's because he built his entire life to look exactly like someone you'd never suspect. The marriage, the children, the house, the golden retriever, the church, the awards, the glowing reviews. All of it was camouflage. And it worked so perfectly that when Sophie Chen saw Marcus Bellamy in that rainy parking lot, she didn't feel fear. She felt relief. It worked so perfectly that when she got into his car and texted her roommate at 5:51 p.m., her message said, Prof. Bellamy giving me a ride, home in 20. That heart emoji would haunt Kayla for the rest of her life, because Marcus Bellamy had no intention of taking Sophie home. 47 miles outside Portland, hidden in the Cascade foothills, there was a cabin, rented under a false name, paid for in cash, soundproofed, waiting, and he'd been preparing it for 8 months. When investigators finally searched Marcus Bellamy's password-protected laptop, they found a folder labeled Research Materials 2023-2024. Inside, 13 months of obsession, documented with horrifying precision. September 4th, 2023, first day of fall semester. Sophie Chen walks into Bellamy's media ethics class for the first time. She sits in the second row, left side. She raises her hand during discussion. She challenges his framing on an ethics question. It's a smart answer that shows critical thinking. That night, Bellamy writes in his journal, Student in second row, left side. She's sharp. She's different from the others. Need to learn her name. That was day 1. The day Marcus Bellamy decided Sophie Chen was special. September 11th, 2023. Bellamy arrives on campus at 7:30 a.m. with a telephoto camera lens. At 8:47 a.m., Sophie exits her apartment and walks toward campus. Bellamy is 60 yards away, hidden behind hedges. He takes the first photograph. This is photograph number 1. By the time he's arrested 13 months later, that number will be 1047, September 18th, 2023. Bellamy engineers their first accidental encounter outside class. He's been watching Sophie's routine for 2 weeks. He knows she goes to Common Grounds Coffee every Tuesday and Thursday at 3:45 p.m. He arrives at 3:30 p.m., positions himself so she'll see him when she walks in. She does. She smiles politely. He waves. "Sophie, hey, funny running into you here." He invites her to sit. They talk for 47 minutes. She tells him about her career goals, her family, her interests. When she leaves, Bellamy opens his laptop and types detailed notes about everything she told him. Parents' names, her dreams, her favorite journalist, what music she listens to. He was gathering data, building a profile, learning everything about Sophie so later, when he needed to manipulate her, he'd know exactly how. October 2023 through January 2024, the surveillance escalates. Bellamy's laptop contained 1,247 photographs taken over 4 months, organized in folders. Campus, library, 237 photos. Sophie entering, studying, leaving. Common Grounds Coffee, 156 photos. Sophie ordering, working, talking to friends. Off campus, apartment, 319 photos. 319 photos taken through Sophie's bedroom window. Photos of her getting dressed, studying, FaceTiming her parents, sleeping. He'd been watching her through her window for 319 separate occasions. Sophie had blackout curtains but didn't always close them completely. Sometimes there was a gap of 6 or 8 inches. That's all Bellamy needed. February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day. Marcus Bellamy rents the cabin. He finds a listing for a secluded property 47 miles outside Portland. Secluded writer's retreat, perfect for creative work requiring isolation. $800 month. Bellamy uses a fake ID, the name David Morrison. He tells the landlord he's a freelance writer working on a book. He pays $1,600 cash. February through September 2024, the preparation phase. Bellamy makes multiple trips to the cabin. He purchases soundproofing materials, acoustic foam panels, mass-loaded vinyl. He installs them in the bedroom. He tests it by screaming as loud as he can. From outside the cabin, you can barely hear anything. He installs 3 industrial deadbolts on the bedroom door, all locking from the outside. He reinforces the door frame with steel plates. He removes the bedroom window entirely and replaces it with a sealed false window. He prints all 1,947 photographs of Sophie and arranges them chronologically on the bedroom walls, every surface covered with her face. A shrine. In July, he purchases a handgun using his fake ID, a 9mm Glock from a private seller, $450 cash. He takes it to the cabin and hides it in the desk drawer. October 11th, 2024, 11:37 p.m. Bellamy sits in his home office while his wife and children sleep. He searches Google. How long can a car battery last without use? Battery disconnect tool? Car won't start symptoms. He's planning. Tomorrow is October 12th. Tomorrow is the day. October 12th, 2024, 4:32 a.m. Bellamy's phone lights up in the dark bedroom. He texts his wife. Heading to campus early. Long day ahead. I love you. He sends it even though she's sleeping beside him. He wants the timestamp. He wants the record. 4:47 a.m. Security footage shows a dark blue sedan entering student parking lot C. Baseball cap pulled low. The car pulls up next to Sophie's Honda Civic in space B47. A man gets out. He opens the hood. He disconnects the battery. The car is now disabled. He closes the hood carefully, walks back to his sedan, drives away. Total time, 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Marcus Bellamy goes home, gets back into bed, and waits for his alarm to go off like it's a normal Saturday morning. But in 13 hours, Sophie Chen will walk to her car. Her car won't start, and Marcus Bellamy will be waiting. Sophie sent her last text at 5:51 p.m. Prof. Bellamy giving me a ride, home in 20. But Sophie wasn't going home. Instead of turning right toward her apartment, Bellamy turned left toward Highway 26, heading into the mountains. About 15 minutes into the drive, Sophie looked up. This doesn't look like the way to my place? Bellamy smiled. Shortcut. Avoiding traffic from construction on Burnside. It was a lie, but it was plausible, and Sophie still trusted him. At 6:20 p.m., Sophie's phone last pinged a cell tower near Sandy, Oregon, 32 miles outside Portland. After that, her phone went dark. At 6:47 p.m., they arrived at the cabin. When Bellamy pulled up, Sophie realized something was very wrong. "Why are we here?" Bellamy turned off the car. "Because I've been waiting for this since the first day you walked into my class. You're special, Sophie." Sophie reached for the door handle. Locked. Child safety locks engaged. She reached for her phone. Bellamy grabbed her wrist. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm not going to hurt you. I just need you to understand how much you mean to me." She screamed. No one was around to hear her. Bellamy dragged Sophie inside. She fought. She scratched his face. DNA under her fingernails would later confirm this. He forced her into the bedroom he'd prepared. The room with soundproof walls. The room where every surface was covered with photographs of her. Sophie would later describe seeing that room as the moment I understood I might die. Bellamy locked the door from the outside, and he talked. He told her how beautiful she was, how special, how he'd been watching over her, how much he loved her. Sophie's response, captured on audio: "You're my professor. This is insane. Please just let me go." Bellamy's response: "You are home." Sophie Chen was held captive in that cabin for 11 days. During those 11 days, Bellamy forced her to participate in what forensic psychologists would later call obsessive worship ritualization. He made her read poetry he'd written about her. He made her watch video compilations of surveillance footage. He brought her meals on a tray. He truly believed she would fall in love with him. Sophie played along. She had no choice. She said what he wanted to hear. She pretended. Because she understood, if she fought too hard, he'd hurt her. Her only chance was to make him believe he was winning. So she waited, and she prayed someone would find her. Meanwhile, the world was looking for Sophie. Her roommate Kayla reported her missing at 7:42 p.m. on October 12th, less than 2 hours after Sophie's last text. Sophie always answered. Sophie always texted back. Kayla knew something was wrong immediately. Portland police pulled security footage from campus. They identified Bellamy's dark sedan. They identified the license plate. They identified Marcus Bellamy. They went to his house to question him. His wife, Catherine, answered the door. 2 children peeked out from behind her legs. She told police, "Marcus is at his research cabin finishing his book manuscript. He's been staying there for a few days. Do you need the address?" She gave it to them. She had no idea. No idea about the photos. No idea about the surveillance. No idea about the soundproof room. No idea that her husband had been lying to her for 13 months. Catherine Bellamy thought she was married to a dedicated professor. She was married to a predator, and in 47 minutes police would be at that cabin, and everything would end. October 23rd, 2024, 4:17 p.m. Cascade Foothills, 47 miles outside Portland. 3 Portland police vehicles and 2 FBI agents arrive at the cabin. They hear screaming from inside. Female voice, desperate, terrified. They announce their presence. "Police, open the door." No response. More screaming. They force entry. The front door splinters. Officers flood inside. And what they see will be described in testimony as a crime scene masquerading as a shrine. Photographs covering the walls, hundreds of them, all of Sophie. And from the back bedroom, more screaming. They find Marcus Bellamy in a state of complete panic, pacing, hyperventilating, muttering, "No, no, no, she's not ready yet. You're ruining everything." Sophie is locked in the bedroom behind him. She's screaming for help. She's alive. They tell Bellamy to get on the ground. He doesn't comply. He backs toward a desk in the corner. They tell him again, "Get on the ground now." He opens the desk drawer. And this is where everything that could have been a rescue becomes a murder. Marcus Bellamy pulls out a handgun, a 9mm Glock he'd purchased illegally 3 months earlier, using the same fake ID he'd used to rent the cabin. Officers yell, "Drop the weapon!" But Bellamy doesn't point the gun at the officers. He turns toward the bedroom door. He fires twice through the locked door. 2 gunshots. Both bullets hit Sophie Chen, one in the chest, one in the abdomen. Officers return fire. 3 shots. Bellamy is hit twice, shoulder and leg. He survives. Sophie does not. Paramedics arrive 11 minutes later. They break down the bedroom door. Sophie Chen is on the floor, bleeding, barely conscious. She dies in the ambulance before reaching the hospital. She was 21 years old. She had survived 11 days in captivity. She had been minutes away from freedom. And the man who'd kidnapped her, the man who'd stalked her, the man who claimed he loved her, he killed her rather than let her leave. Because Marcus Bellamy never wanted to save Sophie. He wanted to own her, and when he realized he couldn't, when he realized the police were taking her away, when he realized his fantasy was collapsing, he made sure no one else could have her either. That's not love, that's possession, that's control. And when control is taken away from someone like Marcus Bellamy, they destroy what they can't keep. Sophie's last words, according to the paramedic in the ambulance, were, "Tell my mom I'm sorry." She had nothing to be sorry for, but she apologized anyway, because Sophie Chen was a kind person who trusted her professor and got into his car on a rainy October evening. And she paid for that trust with her life. Marcus Bellamy's laptop was a prosecutor's dream and a family's nightmare. When FBI forensic analysts cracked the encryption on his hard drive, they found 13 months of obsession documented with horrifying precision. 1,847 photographs of Sophie taken without her knowledge or consent. 43 video recordings totaling 6 hours and 14 minutes. A 287-page document titled Our Future, detailed fantasies about their relationship, plans for where they'd live after she understood, names for children they'd have together, daily schedules he'd create for them, browser history showing searches for how to soundproof a room, abduction techniques, Stockholm Syndrome timeline, how to make someone fall in love with you, battery disconnect tool purchase, cabin rentals cash only Oregon, text message evidence showing he'd been catfishing Sophie online for 7 months using a fake identity, posing as a graduate student named Alex to gather personal information, learn about her fears, her dreams, her relationship status. Sophie had been telling Alex things she never told Professor Bellamy. She'd been confiding in her own stalker without knowing it. The timeline of October 12th proved premeditation. 4:32 a.m. text to wife. 4:47 a.m. security footage disabling battery. 11:37 a.m. teaching his media ethics class. Sophie was in that class. 5:47 p.m. rescuing Sophie in parking lot. 6:47 p.m. arriving at cabin with Sophie. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a moment of poor judgment. This was 13 months of planning, 13 months of surveillance, 13 months of building a cage. And when the cage was finally discovered, he burned it down with Sophie still inside. That's premeditated murder, and the jury took 4 hours to agree. During the sentencing phase, prosecutors introduced evidence that destroyed any remaining sympathy for Marcus Bellamy. Sophie Chen wasn't his first target. In 2019, 5 years before he kidnapped Sophie, another student filed a complaint against him. Her name was Emma Rodriguez. She was 20 years old. Emma reported to Riverside University's Title IX office that Professor Bellamy was engaging in uncomfortable attention and boundary violations. Bellamy showed up at the coffee shop where she studied. Bellamy emailed her outside of class hours about non-academic topics. Bellamy asked personal questions about her relationships. Bellamy started showing up at the gym when she worked out. Bellamy sent her gifts, books, coffee cards, with notes saying, "Saw this and thought of you." Emma felt uncomfortable. She felt watched. She felt like he was everywhere, so she reported it. The university conducted an internal investigation. They interviewed Bellamy. He said it was all a misunderstanding. He said he was just being a supportive mentor. He said Emma had misinterpreted his kindness, and the university believed him. They closed the case. No disciplinary action, no formal warning. They told Emma there wasn't enough evidence of misconduct. Emma was terrified. She felt unprotected. She felt abandoned by the institution. So she transferred to another school and never pressed charges. When detectives contacted Emma in November 2024, after Sophie's murder, after Bellamy's arrest, Emma broke down. She told them everything. She told them that Bellamy had stalked her for an entire semester. She told them that he'd shown up at her apartment building. She told them that he'd sent her anonymous gifts with no return address. She told them that after she reported him and nothing happened, he escalated even more, following her to her car, waiting outside her classes, showing up at her family's restaurant. She told them she'd been too afraid to pursue it further because the university didn't care, so why would anyone else? And now, a 21-year-old journalism student was dead, and Emma Rodriguez had to live with the knowledge that if someone had listened, if the university had acted, if Bellamy had been fired or investigated properly, Sophie might still be alive. Emma filed a lawsuit against Riverside University. She alleged that the university's failure to properly investigate her complaint directly enabled Sophie Chen's kidnapping and murder. The university settled for an undisclosed sum, but money doesn't bring Sophie back. And it doesn't erase the fact that there was a moment, 5 years before Sophie got into that car, when someone raised a red flag and it was ignored. Marcus Bellamy should never have been in that parking lot on October 12th. He should have been fired in 2019. But institutions protect themselves before they protect students. And Sophie paid the price for that protection. November 15th, 2024. Multnomah County Courthouse, Portland, Oregon. Marcus Bellamy was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of stalking, multiple counts of illegal surveillance. Total, life plus 147 years. He will die in prison. But before the judge handed down the sentence, Sophie's parents were given the opportunity to deliver victim impact statements. David Chen, Sophie's father, spoke first. He held a framed photo of Sophie, her high school graduation photo, cap and gown, smiling. He said, "Sophie wanted to be an investigative journalist. She wanted to expose corruption, hold powerful people accountable, give voice to people who couldn't speak for themselves. She was going to change the world. And you took that from her. You took that from us. You took our daughter, our only child, and you killed her because you couldn't accept that she didn't belong to you. You don't deserve to say her name. You don't deserve to breathe the same air. But what you do deserve is to spend the rest of your miserable life knowing that Sophie will be remembered, honored, and loved, and you will be forgotten." Linda Chen, Sophie's mother, could barely stand. She spoke through tears. "Sophie called me every Sunday for 21 years. The last time we talked, she told me about an article she was working on for the newspaper, something about campus safety. She said, 'I want to make sure students feel protected, Mom.' And then you took her. You stole my daughter. You stole her future. You stole my future. I will never walk her down the aisle. I will never meet her children. I will never hear her voice again. You don't get to explain yourself. You don't get to justify this. You don't get forgiveness. Sophie was kind and trusting and brilliant, and she got into your car because she thought you were safe. She was wrong, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure no one forgets what you did." The courtroom was silent except for the sound of crying. Marcus Bellamy sat motionless. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, Bellamy read from a prepared statement. "Sophie was special. I only wanted to protect her. This was all a misunderstanding." Even in sentencing, he couldn't admit what he'd done. Even facing life in prison, he maintained his delusion. The judge responded, "Mr. Bellamy, you are a danger to society and a stain on the teaching profession. You will never harm another student again." Gavel. Life without parole. Marcus Bellamy was escorted out of the courtroom. He never looked at Sophie's parents, not once. Sophie Chen's story isn't just a tragedy. It's a warning, because Marcus Bellamy looked like safety. He looked like a mentor. He looked like someone who cared. He had awards, credentials, a family, a reputation, and none of it mattered. Because predators don't always look like predators. Sometimes they look like professors. Sometimes they look like coaches. Sometimes they look like the helpful neighbor, the family friend, the person everyone trusts. And that's what makes them dangerous. After Sophie's death, her parents established the Sophie Chen Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to campus safety, stalking prevention, and holding universities accountable for protecting students. The foundation pushed for new legislation requiring mandatory third-party investigations of Title IX complaints involving faculty, public reporting of complaints against faculty members, criminal background checks every 2 years for all staff with student contact, and anonymous reporting systems that cannot be dismissed by internal review alone. Riverside University implemented new protocols. Faculty can no longer meet with students alone in off-campus locations. All faculty-student communications must be logged in university systems. Security cameras were expanded across campus parking areas and residence hall exteriors. A 24/7 hotline was created for students to report concerning behavior, staffed by trained counselors rather than campus security. Catherine Bellamy divorced Marcus and legally changed her family's last name to protect her children from association with their father's crimes. She's now an advocate for recognizing warning signs of obsessive behavior in partners, speaking publicly about the signs she missed in her own home: his obsessive need to control schedules, his excessive interest in other people's daily routines, his ability to lie effortlessly about where he was going and what he was doing, his lack of empathy when people expressed discomfort or said no to his requests. She said in multiple interviews, "I thought I married a good man. I was wrong. and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to help others see what I couldn't. The signs were there. I just didn't know what I was looking at. Sophie's roommates, Kayla and Priya, both transferred to other universities after the trial. They couldn't walk past Sophie's empty bedroom. They couldn't sit in the apartment where they'd lived with her, where they'd laughed with her, where they'd last seen her alive. Kayla told a reporter 6 months after Sophie's death, "I replay that day over and over. I should have told her to wait for me. I should have left work early to pick her up. I should have insisted. But how do you know? How do you know that the one time you don't insist is the time that matters?" The answer is, you don't know. You can't know. Because evil doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a sign. It doesn't look like the villain in a movie. Sometimes evil looks like the professor who remembers your name and asks about your grandmother and writes you letters of recommendation. Sometimes evil looks like patience. Sometimes evil looks like kindness. And sometimes the person offering you an umbrella in the rain is the same person who's been planning your abduction for 8 months. Think about the patience required to do what Marcus Bellamy did. He saw Sophie on September 4th, 2023. He decided she was special. And then he spent 13 months watching her, learning her, preparing for her. He didn't rush. He didn't make impulsive mistakes. He waited, he planned, he executed. Most people can't stick to a New Year's resolution for 13 weeks. Marcus Bellamy stuck to a kidnapping plan for 13 months. That level of patience, that level of calculation, that level of control, it's not something most people possess. And that's what makes it so terrifying. Because by the time you realize someone like Marcus Bellamy has targeted you, they've already been watching you for months. They already know your schedule, your habits, your vulnerabilities. They've already planned how to take you, and they're just waiting for the right moment. Sophie Chen never had a chance. Not because she was naive or careless or stupid, but because she was up against someone who'd spent over a year studying her, someone who understood exactly how to make her feel safe, someone who knew precisely what she would do when her car wouldn't start. She got into that car because everything in her life experience told her it was safe. Her professor, someone she knew, someone everyone trusted, in a public parking lot, in daylight, with her phone in her hand, texting her roommate where she was going. She did everything right, and it didn't matter. Because Marcus Bellamy had been planning for everything she might do right. He'd been 3 steps ahead for 13 months. If you're reading this and something in your life feels wrong, even if you can't explain it, even if everyone else thinks you're overreacting, trust yourself. If someone is showing up in places they shouldn't be, asking questions that feel too personal, paying attention that feels too intense, document it. Save texts. Take screenshots. Tell someone you trust. If you report concerning behavior and you're told you're overreacting or misunderstanding, report it again. To someone else. To multiple people. Keep reporting until someone listens. Because Emma Rodriguez reported Marcus Bellamy in 2019, the university ignored her. And 5 years later, Sophie Chen died because of that failure. Your instincts exist for a reason. They're pattern recognition. They're your subconscious noticing things your conscious mind can't quite articulate. When something feels off, there's usually a reason. Sophie Chen had a feeling about Marcus Bellamy. She couldn't explain it. She mentioned it once to a friend, but she dismissed it because everyone else said he was great. Everyone else said he was trustworthy. Everyone else said she was lucky to have such a supportive professor. She ignored her instincts, and it cost her her life. Don't be Sophie. Trust yourself. And if you're in a position of authority, university administrator, HR manager, school board member, anyone who receives reports of concerning behavior, take every complaint seriously. Investigate thoroughly. Don't accept easy explanations. Don't protect institutions over individuals. Don't assume that someone with a good reputation couldn't possibly be dangerous. Because the next Marcus Bellamy is out there. The next patient predator with teaching credentials and awards and a perfect public image. And the next Sophie Chen is walking across a parking lot right now, phone in hand, completely unaware that someone has been watching her for months. Don't let there be a next time. Sophie Chen was 21 years old. She wanted to be an investigative journalist. She called her mom every Sunday. She had a 3.7 GPA. She volunteered at the campus writing center. She was kind and careful and smart. She got into her professor's car on October 12, 2024 at 5:47 p.m. and she never came home. Remember her name. Remember her story. And maybe, just maybe, her death will save someone else's life.